this is a demonstration of what's new in the new version, and it's aimed at customers who are intending to upgrade and want to get a feel for what's involved and what's in the new version. So we'll be running you through specifically that, what is different in the new version compared to the classic client and earlier versions which TrendPack are on. Also the tablet version, which I know will be of interest to a lot of our customers, and then finally the reasons for upgrading and the process, the different ways we can go about it. So I'll hand back to Peter to get going.
Yeah, no worries. So the main thing we'll be going through today for what's new in NAV 2015 will be the queues and the formatting, the simplification of the user interface, the ability to send documents via email, formatting documents in Word, so the layouts for invoices or orders, it's really up to you, and various other new functions that are within NAV 2015. So we'll start and we'll open up NAV 2015 now. So for those operating with a NAV edition from 2009 and earlier, this webinar will introduce a completely different user interface and functionality which has come leaps and bounds. So we'll begin by opening the Windows version. What we're directed to here is a role center. A role center is the starting place where users can perform tasks involved in managing their business. This acts as our home page as we navigate through NAV 2015. So this is our central page. NAV has developed over 25 different role centers, so each is specific to what the user will require on a day-to-day basis. So we're currently in the small business role center, as you can see from the top. This gives us a general view of our business. Users have quick access to the quoting and invoicing from the ribbon, as well as a live data feed relating to their sales and purchases. The range of role centers includes the likes of bookkeepers, sales order processors, warehouse workers, or purchasing agents, for example, and there's 25 lock-loaded. If we were to log in for argument's sake as an accounting manager, much more financial related data and KPIs would appear. So this could be in regards to cash flow and stuff like that. The activity queues would also be tailored towards the likes of accounts receivable and accounts payable. And the ribbon would incorporate GST, the BAS statement or journals, which we would be posting to. So NAV has created role centers to enhance workflows for each user so that employees can operate at the most efficient level. As opposed to prior versions where users would have to feel their way around to an extent to get from area to area, NAV 2015 ensures that users have instant access to the areas that relate to them best. So also on that note, in regards to role centers, the permission sets are already come stock standard with each role center. So you don't have to manually do that in terms of setting permissions for each user. But you can modify them if need be. So you wouldn't want, your sales order processor having access to the GL accounts, for example, being able to modify them. So come stock standard with NAV 2015, the permission sets are already set up for stuff like that. But they are editable by the super user in your organization. So we'll start out by discussing the layout of what the role center really is and what it involves. So the navigation pane is something that users with NAV will have a lot of experience with. So a number of lists and documents can be accessed from your home page. You also have the ability to search for them in the top right corner. So this is our search function. You can use the activity buttons at the bottom left hand of the screen as well, which users will probably be accustomed to. You can add and delete and modify whatever fields you want to be added here. Each will be directed to a new page with another new navigation pane with the relevant lists and documents. So we'll go back to our home page. The activity queues on our home page here relate specifically to the role center you're in. So for the small business, we've got sales, purchases, and financial performance. So these are three general areas for the small business, as a manager would like to have an overview of how the various departments are working within the business. So transparency among staff is enhanced somewhat, and the possibilities of duplicate entries is reduced even further. So NAV 2015 has went one step further in regards to the activity queues. So you'll notice that there are certain colors attached to each of the queues. So there's a red one, a green one, and a yellow one. So through setting up the color indicators, the cues will change according to whether the figure is deemed as favorable, unfavorable, or ambiguous. So we can set this up if we select Set Up Cues, which will be here. So you can see in regards to sales invoices, or for sales this month, or for the average collection days, the manager can set up the thresholds for each of them and can deem what is favorable and what is unfavorable. So it allows the manager to keep a closer eye on what's going on in the business thus far. It can be set up on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, however you really want to report, and whenever you want to set the parameters for your targets. So the manager will have a better idea of how the employees are traveling in their organization. So we'll close that. Are we? Oh. So all users in the organization are thus under the microscope even more so. And so another thing that's new in NAV 2015 will be the simplification of the role center. So the ability to enhance the user experience is set as a priority for NAV 2015. Users can now change what functions they have access to and can hide functions that they'll hardly ever need. So the ribbon, the navigation pane, and the whole page itself can be altered to suit the specific needs of the users. So if we wanted to do that, we'll select Customize, and we can customize any of these pages. Say we wanted to customize this page, we could say remove our KPIs, click OK, and now the KPIs are removed. So we can do that for any part on this page. Add that back now. Okay. Perfect. So although the 25 different role centers are designed to suit the user, they can be personalized so that the user can work and have access to the main functions for them. So it allows for a certain level of customization, which you can do for yourself. Tailor it for whatever the worker needs to have access to. Another fancy feature that's in NAV 2015 is the tooltips. So this acts as a quick F1 function and gives a brief description of an area that can be accessed through hovering over it. So if we were to hover over payment registration for argument's sake, it will explain exactly what this function is used for. So processing your customer payments by matching the amounts received on your bank account. So this works with most fields in NAV 2015 and also fast tabs and things of that nature. So especially for first-time users, it's quite handy in terms of providing a simple way of understanding how to use NAV 2015. And also something that's still within NAV 2015 that's used in prior versions as well is the help function. And so it's much more detailed in terms of tailoring it down to the field if need be, which we'll go through a bit later on a customer card. But you can tell it has all the functionality that's provided here and a brief description of what each field is used for. Okay. The search function acts as a Google search in NAV 2015, so it allows users to search for a specific page or report. If a function or page hasn't been added to your role center, you can access it from searching for it from the search function, as long as the user has the permissions to access that report. So if we wanted to look up a customer top 10 list for argument's sake, we could view that. So here's our top 10 customers. It provides a graphical view as well as the statistics for sales and their current balance for these customers. Okay. The next thing will be the report inbox, which you can see here. So in the top right of the screen, the report inbox specifies the scheduled reports which a user will want to see regularly. So reports can be scheduled for the likes of manufacturing or financial data and are all created in real time. So here we see that we've got a number of reports that are scheduled in our job queue. So we've got a financial analysis report, a sales statistics report, budgets, inventory availability. For example, a user may want to see such reports on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and these reports will appear in the inbox automatically for them. So this is especially useful for management. So this is a very efficient tool, as the reports, most important to them, can be scheduled for them however frequently they wish, and they provide all real-time data, so everything is a live feed. So we'll close that. Next, we'll go into the navigation pane. We'll open one of our lists. So any list we view or page we view from the navigation pane will be directed to a list view. So this is somewhat different to prior versions of Nav, where you'd be directed back to where you were last from. So say customer card specifically. So the columns can be altered to view what is most important to the user. So we can choose the columns that we wish to enter. This would vary depending on the industry you're involved in. So different posting groups, credit limits, things of that nature can be added here. So say I wanted to add the credit limit, we can add that. We can edit how close it is to see where we are. So we can move it up right next to name if we wanted to, if credit limits are important. And then we'll click OK. So now we have a credit limit for our customers that are clear to the user. So furthermore, when we filter this list, so let's filter by, what will we filter by? We'll filter between contacts between 10,000 and 20,000. So these are our two contacts. If we wanted to save this, we can save this view. And we can save this as customers 10,000 to 20,000. Now when Nav refreshes on the navigation pane, this list view of these specific customers will be filtered down here. So if we select customers, we can see we've got another customer list that's more specific, so more tailored. So you could filter this list, for example, for customers with a balance greater than $100,000 or greater than $20,000, and save each list here, so you don't manually have to search them every time you open up the customer list. We'll now open a customer card, which is also structured differently to prior versions of Nav. So the layout will look unfamiliar, as there are horizontal fast tabs as opposed to the vertical fast tabs. So we've still got our general fast tab, communication, invoicing, payments, shipping, and etc., etc. So all of these fast tabs are more of the same. There might be a few fields here and there that are different and added in according to the new functionality within Nav 2015. We can also customize what's highlighted in our fast tabs when they're minimized. So we can customize, and we will customize this page. We'll go to the fast tabs and say we want to highlight in our invoicing section. We'll say customize fast tab. So we can promote any of these fields so that when they're minimized, we can see the most important data for us. So say, for example, prepayment percentage, we can promote that and say invoice discount group. So we can promote that. Okay. So now when it opens back up, we can see that it's in the domestic invoicing group. And you can add fast tabs. You can promote certain fields that are most relevant for you wherever necessary. And that applies to any card for either a bank, for a vendor or a customer, or even an item. So another key function that's been added is the statistics. So in the statistics, we can see our balance with this customer, the services and sales to date, and the overdue amounts. And also we have a clear history of the sales with that customer this period, this year, last year, and to date. So all of that is readily available to the user. Also, the blue figures you'll see can be honed in on. So if we want to select the overdue amounts as of the 31st of May 2015, we can select that number and we can see the invoices and credit adjustment notes that have accumulated that figure. And we can see that they're well overdue. And we'll close this. Okay. So what we'll move on to now is the sales invoice. So we'll close this. So we'll select sales invoice from the ribbon. Now when we enter our sell to customer number, as long as we enter the customer there, the rest of the fields will be filled out according to the customer card. Now you see an action regarding the credit limit check. So if we want to go through with the sales invoice, we'll select yes. And so the card, the sales invoice is filled out according to the customer card. Now something that's been added to NAV 2015 is the fact that the GST amounts and the totals and discount amounts have been added to the invoicing section. So if we were to add an item to here, say the bike, and enter a quantity, you can now see that the figures are clear to the user at the bottom of the screen to see if we're providing a discount to the customer, how much GST is charged. So this is all calculated within NAV 2015 according to whether you have discount groups with customers and sales line discounts and things of that nature. So we can add another item, we'll say touring bike, 10. And so you can see it updates every time you add a certain item and whether there's discounts available for that item. Also, the fact boxes on the right are much more advanced in terms of the statistics readily available to the user. So this is in relation to the customer statistics, so the sales and the services we've provided to this customer. And if we scroll down, we can see more specifically the item details, so what we're selling. So in terms of how much stock we have on hand, how much we're charging, how much profitability we're making on that item. So it's all clear to the user. We can also make notes for other users in the system and create tasks allocated to them for approvals. So we'll close this. Okay, what we'll move on to now is the posted sales invoice screen. So if we select that from the navigation pane, there's some key added functionality in NAV 2015 in regards to this, so it's much more efficient for users. So the sending of emails of particular invoices to customers is a swift process due to the email function in the ribbon. So if we select email, then it automatically attaches that email with the PDF attachment and the subject, which we can edit, and the email, which is according to the customer card for Selangorian. We can add a detailed message in there, or we can choose to edit it in Outlook if we wish. So sending of emails can be also done in batch jobs to customers. So you also have the ability to instantly correct or cancel entries made through a single click from the ribbon. But obviously you can't correct entries which have already been paid. So anything that hasn't been paid, you can correct or cancel. But it also gives a clear view of which invoices have been paid for. So of all the posted sales invoices, we can filter that list for everyone that hasn't paid or everyone that has paid. So it's much clearer to see which invoices you have to chase up. So from here, we'll still get instructive warning. So if we were to try to correct a paid or cancel a paid invoice, we'll get an error saying you cannot cancel this posted invoice because it's fully or partially paid. So it ensures the users still can't make mistakes such as that. Okay, a key function in NAV 2015 is something you might have got consultants to do for you in the past, and that is the use of custom report layouts. So for custom report layouts, many of us have experience with Word. Modifying invoice layouts can be self-serviced. You can add colors, rearrange where certain areas are, take out irrelevant fields. So if we wanted to copy this layout, for a sales invoice. We can then edit this layout. So here's our new layout. This is the layout that you'll be printing out for all your sales invoices now. If we want to edit this, it's simply what you see is what you get. So we may copy here. So if we were to copy this, we can change the design. So we can make it different. We can change the layout. We can insert rows. We can change the color coding. We can adjust where things are. So we'll quickly modify this. We'll make that blue. We'll close it and save it. And we'll import the changes back in. So now when we run this report, we'll select the preview of it. Open it in Word. And here we are. So the invoice layout's been adjusted. So now it's blue and we've highlighted our company in red. So we can also modify what fields are shown here. Some of them might be relevant to some of your customers. So we can modify this here. And once you save that stock layout, you can, every time you post an invoice, you can make sure that that is the invoice that's posted. So for example, this one here that we've just created. They can also be for any report in NAV 2015. So whether it be for external purposes, so for sales and purchase invoices for argument's sake, or for internal purposes such as the aged accounts receivables. So what we'll do now is go to the payment journal. So in the financials webinar, which will be scheduled a bit later in the year, I think, is that right, Dave?
Yeah, June.
Yeah, so the financials webinar will go through a bit more in depth, but we'll just touch on a few of the major changes. So if we would open the payment journal. So the payment journal registers the payments to vendors. So it's a type of general journal, so users can post transactions to the general ledger, the bank, customer, vendor, and fixed asset accounts. So the best addition to this page would be the suggest vendor payments function. So if we select that, we can select the last payment date from this vendor. We can select how much funds we have available to pay vendors. So we can set up as 10,000, 1,000, however much. We can set priorities for our vendor. So if we have vendors that are higher in the pecking order, we can list them as a priority 1 or priority 2, and it will automatically select the highest priority vendors to which we have owing invoices or orders. Then we can fill in the journal lines in terms of what will be displayed when we post to the journal. And then we can also select balancing accounts from here. So which bank we want to balance it by, or whether it's a GL account. When we filter, we can filter for a specific vendor. So we'll filter for vendor 10,000 here. And when we click OK, we've created suggested vendor payments for all currencies. So here's all the vendor payments for vendor 10,000 according to the date filter we've set. So all up until the 31st of May 2015, these are all the invoices that we have to pay. And you can see the balancing account is already set up for them. We can see, based on the red markings, we can see that those two are overdue invoices. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, this posting date will cause an overdue payment. So for users, there's alerts at every point where it provides a lot more clarity for users to not make mistakes, really, and to ensure that they're paying the right invoices. So if we only had a limited amount of funds available, we wouldn't worry about paying these 3 invoices, for example, and we'd make sure these were the priority because they're overdue, and we might get charged finance charges such as 2% per month, or however the vendors work. So for companies that export to payment files, you can tick these boxes to export them to payment files. You can track from the credit transfer registers what payments you have exported to files to send to the bank or to send to vendors. Okay, So we can post that if we wish. We'll delete a few of these lines. And we'll post. All right, the journal line successfully posted. Excellent. Okay, what we'll touch on now will be, we'll go into the tablet version now. We'll have a quick preview of what that looks like. So we'll close Nav 2015 and open our tablet version. So we'll resume proceedings. We'll log in. So with the tablet version, it's got, it resizes according to the screen you're on. So you can use an iPad, you can use a Surface tablet. It's ideal for to be on the go. So for salespeople, in this case, it's a service manager who will be on the road. So the actions they've got access to will be the service orders. And in terms of having access to customers, the items, the service items, so you can track timesheets and stuff like that for an order. So it's quite straightforward. It has the information that's most relevant to the customer. So for a sales order processor, it'd be stacked off with sales invoices, sales orders, quotes, customers, your top customers, and address details and stuff like that, which we can still access from here. So if we were to select customers, we still get a list, and we can still open our customers with all the details on the go. So this is ideal for a warehouse worker or for a sales order person. So it has multiple uses. Okay, I'll hand it over to you now, Dave, with the slides.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Just a couple of quick points on the benefits of the tablet client here. Remote workers, it's obviously a great way for them to connect back into NAV and update NAV. So people on the road taking sales orders, service engineers or people in the field doing work for the business, executives wanting to update or check reports within the system, they can do that quite easily, or even do approvals on the run. Accuracy is obviously much higher when we're not dealing with multiple systems. There's no integrations required. For mobile clients now, we can do it all straight into NAV. And it gets obviously the sales order more quickly into the system, so it can be processed much faster. The field workers are getting details of what they've been doing into the system much faster as well. So overall, it's a much faster much faster process, and it's obviously much more a modern look and feel in this tablet client, and it suits the industry trend. Would you like to next slide, please, Pete?
Yeah.
I guess the next thing we wanted to talk about after you've seen this version is why do it, apart from the great new features and functionality. It's really important to stay current and supported. Microsoft only support 2 versions back, and the version that's currently supported is 2013. 2009, unfortunately, no longer supported under mainstream support from Microsoft. And it also makes it easier for companies like Hands-On to support the system, because our consultants and developers have to keep up to date as well, so they're focusing on the newer versions, and all the new installations are on the very latest version. As we've just seen the tablet client, there's also the web client, so no longer do we need to actually install any software on the PCs to get to NAV 2015. You can actually just type the URL into Internet Explorer or Chrome or a number of other browsers and get access directly into NAV. And the integration with other Microsoft products is very good as well, particularly Office 365 and SharePoint. With an add-on product that comes with NAV 2015, you can drag and drop invoices onto documents in NAV, and that document is saved then into NAV itself. There's also a cloud deployment option with 2015 and 2013. We haven't gone through that here, but if you're interested in that, we can go through that another time. Okay, Pete?
Yeah.
So how do we get to NAV 2015? We call it an upgrade, but there's actually different ways to do it. So a straight upgrade would mean like for like. So anything you have in your current version will upgrade all of those customizations and get you to the new version. That may not be suitable in all cases, because if you've had the system for a long time, you may have a lot of customizations in the system that you don't use anymore, and also some reports that you don't need anymore. So what we can do is something called re-implementation, where we take a brand new installation, a fresh database, and then work with you on a gap fit analysis of how you're using NAV at the moment and what you need in your business, and creating only the minimum customizations that you might need in NAV. Finally, there's another hybrid version where you have some specific customizations that still aren't in the new version, but there's a lot of customizations in there that you don't need as well. So we would start in this case with an empty database and bringing across the key customizations that you need, and then work with you in a gap fit analysis again to work out what other customizations we can add. So they're the three main ways we do it. You can see on the right in this screen is one of our calculator. It's a tool that we use to try and estimate what your upgrade might cost. And we base this on a complete upgrade of all customizations. Because this is basically the only way we can do it without consulting with you. So if we just skip to the next slide, Pete. Just go to one more for me.
Yeah.
So in terms of what the ways that we can interact with you to get to the next version and work out the best way to get to the next version. Obviously, the first thing to do is start the conversation, and your account manager can help you there. But we have a report usage tool, which is very handy to install in NAV, and then what it does, it works out, it records which reports are actually being run in NAV. So once that's in there in your current version, we can tell you that this particular report hasn't been run, therefore it's probably not worth upgrading it, and we can consult with you on that. A review of your customizations can be done internally, or can be done in conjunction with hands-on, and we can go through the list of customizations that are in the system and run those for you individually and ask you against each one, are you still using this? And then we can cross them off and make the upgrade as cheap as possible. So ultimately, booking a session with a consultant will be the first step to performing this gap fit analysis to see what's going to be required to get you to the new version, and we can organise that for you at any time. And that's obviously the best way to get a firm figure, firm estimate for the upgrade. Okay, so if you could just jump back for one, please, Pete. So just recapping on the benefits, NAV has some fantastic new dashboards that were never available in previous versions. Statistics against customers. Microsoft have focused on bringing the most interesting, the most useful information to the forefront, in front of the user, to make their job easier. There's indicators or cues, as they're called, to help help your personnel make the right decisions when they're using NAV, and the KPIs in the system as well give you faster access to key data. And of course, as we keep harping on about, the mobile experience is much improved with the HTML client and the tablet client. So thanks, Pete. Just back to the final one.
Yeah. Oh, this is the last slide, yeah.
So ultimately, the call to action is to contact us and talk us through what you need, what your timeline is for an upgrade, and we can work with you to get an estimate for budget purposes and go from there. Pete, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I think you've covered everything. Yeah, that's everything for today.
Okay, we're happy to stay on and take questions if anyone has any. Otherwise, feel free to email them through to dave.martin@handson.com.au.